In boardrooms around the world, leaders are waking up to the new reality. AI is no longer just predicting outcomes, it's taking actions on our behalf. Agents can talk to customers, trigger workflows, update CRM, orchestrate approvals, and even negotiate next steps. All this age of agentic AI workflows and real questions for every CXO is brutal simple. Are we still once in control, or we just hoping the systems gets it right? Today's episode lives in the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, strategy, growth, where AI powered agents don't just automate tasks, they reshape revenue generated, how is risk managed, how trust is earned, and every digital interaction. Today, our before we dive into the topic, let's look at a short video on how power of knowing has been evolving so far. Today's guest, Vijaya Raman, brings a powerful vantage point to this conversation. As a Salesforce Practice Leader at IBM, Vijaya operates at the crossroads of technology, strategy, growth, and ensuring cybersecurity and trust are maintained. Vijaya has spent years helping enterprises modernize their CRM and customer platforms, and now helping the leaders to the next level of pointers. How do we move from isolated pilots to agentic workflows that safely scale across enterprises? Let's welcome Vijaya to our podcast and dive into the topic. Hi Vijaya,
Hi,
good
hi.
evening.
Good evening.
Welcome
I,
to our podcast, ma'am. How are you today?
I'm good and thank you for having me on this podcast. Happy to be with all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. A small intro about your journey on the so far your journey, and to look at the audience to have you understand better, ma'am.
Sure, definitely. Yeah. Hi all. Good evening. I have actually worked in IT industry for more than 3 decades, working on multiple technologies. In fact, some of you may not even know some of the technologies that I worked on, like Fox Pro and Visual Basic and things like that. So then I worked on client server architecture. All along, I have been on the technology side, worked on BPM integration, and then currently, like, with Salesforce from last more than 1 decade. Yeah. And as Prem mentioned, like, no, I'm at the crossroads of actually like working with C-suite customers, drawing the roadmap for their agentic AI enterprises, and I'm here to share my experience on, like, what I see, and then how the customers are actually perceiving agentic AI, and what are the precautions that we need to take when we dive into this journey.
Thank you, ma'am. I would like to start with our first pointer that I want to ask you is, when you look at agentic AI workflows, what does enterprise readiness really mean for the CXO team, ma'am?
Yeah. So, see, agentic AI plays a major role in customer experience. Yeah. When, for example, take an example of post service, right? Post sale service. So, what are the agents can do today? There are a lot of human agents who are actually taking care of a lot of post sale service, be it field service or be it on call service. So they are taking care. So now those agents can be actually replaced with digital agents, and the human agents can actually focus on more of more strategic work or more of customer experience related work, right? So CXOs has to actually like CXOs have to focus on how actually like this agentic AI is going to improve their customer experience, right, from what it is today, and then like how it can improve. And when we are improving the customer experience, they also need to make sure that the customer confidentiality information is not compromised, like their data is secured, and also like it is providing the relevant information for the customer at the right time, right? So these are certain things that they have to keep in mind when they are diving into the agentic AI journey. CXOs have to definitely focus on trust, and also like the complexity that they are going to bring in, and also the effectiveness that it is going to bring in.
Thank you, ma'am. How is this fundamentally different from just deploying an AI co-pilot or a chatbot inside a single function like sales or service?
Oh, that's a great question, because a lot of people have this actually like question, and then in fact most of the customers ask this question. So what are we going to do when you are saying agentic AI, right? Um, See, single function or implementing a chatbot to automate some function is totally different from taking a business function, the end-to-end business function, and trying to bring in the agentic AI into that. So you build agents for providing or automating small functions, build digital agents, and then like bring those agents together to provide a complete end-to-end business solution. For example, like if there's a customer service that we need to provide, post-sale service that we need to provide, right? Uh, the simple bot, what it will do is it will take some questions from the customer and answer back the question, right? But the agentic AI, what it does is it also actually like uses effectively the knowledge base that is built, right, over a period of time. And also like it can actually like it is not just the data driven, it is context driven. Actually agentic AI solution is context driven, and it takes the context and then answers the questions based on the context and based on the past knowledge that the system has built over a period of time. So that's a major difference that we see between these two.
Okay. Now, like looking at this, if you had to paint before versus after picture, like for an enterprise that has embraced agentic workflows, what visible changes would we see and how the work is getting done? Because post and pre, how do you look at them? So your take on it.
Yeah. So yeah, most of the customers started actually looking at the major KPIs that they can measure, because see any new thing that we are doing, any digital transformation or any agentic AI work or any generative AI work that we are doing, the clients wanted to know what are the KPIs that they can measure, because they have to measure the effectiveness of what they are doing, right? So if you ask me, like definitely whether it has increased the customer experience, are we getting better customer satisfaction, and are we able to answer our customers' questions more effectively and then on a timely basis without compromising on their data, right? Which is very, very important, and without any hallucination. So these are certain things that they have to take care. And when you want to compare post or pre and post, right? Definitely two things that will come into my mind is one is the speed at which like it is answering or like responding to the customers. Second is the experience, the customer experience or the customer satisfaction rating, that it is actually like how is it increasing, right? I have seen some customers actually seeing great customer satisfaction rating improving because of this agentic AI implementation.
Now we see results very because when we implement, we don't see results immediately, right? So customers always have a fear that whether we are going in the right direction or not. So that's a important point that they should look at. And now coming to for a large enterprise, where should leaders start with agentic AI workflow, so that they don't get lost in the experimentation, right? So that's what we want. Even the customers always look at, now I brought this, what is that I'm doing, and they want to look at, as you rightly said, KPIs. They want to look at what is the ROI that I'm getting based on the implementations of agentic AI. Now, is it immediate, or do I look at getting the ROI at a later standpoint? Is some confusion there always. So your take on it, man. How do we look at this?
See, certain things they can see the results immediately. Yeah, definitely. Like, post sales service, I see the customers seeing the immediate results. But when they start on the journey, two three things that they need to keep in mind. One is from where the data is coming in, right? If the data is not correct, if the data is not clean, your response to the customer is not going to be correct, right? And then definitely your customer satisfaction is going to dip. So the first and foremost thing that they have to focus on is the data. And second thing is, what are the use cases that they definitely wanted to bring in agents in? Like, how, which are the use cases that they have to build agents for, right? Not every use case in an organization or every business functionality is ready for agentic AI, right? So that is something that they have to decide, which are the business units and which are the business functions they can bring in agentic AI work. So third is like the change management. The most important thing is change management, right? Um, in an enterprise, like, there are people are used to doing work in certain way, right? So now they have to change their way of working, change their way of responding to the systems. That, right? There are a lot of change management they have to bring in. So these are the three most important things that they have to keep in mind when they are embarking on the journey of agentic AI.
See, people are thinking that AI implementation is very simple and it is not very cost effective, but you really look at the cost that is getting involved to bring up the AI agents, and look at the overall gamut that you need to build over the AI infrastructure is very high, and people expect that results to happen with the minimum investment. Are there two three no regret use cases in enterprises ecosystem that believe every CXO should evaluate first, man? Any pointers around it?
So yeah, as I mentioned, the customer experience, right? What is the customer experience that you wanted to give, right? Um, See, definitely in the service industry, for example, like, you take in retail industry, right? And where like the customer service is very important.
Yeah.
So if the customer service is actually provided in a better way and faster way, so that is something like, the CXOs have to focus on whether they are going to provide faster and better response, right? So that is something like, that's the most important thing that they have to focus on. And that is one use case I can think of to start with immediately. Second is, any mundane process, right? Like, where you don't need to actually have a human being sitting and spending hours and hours together, going through multiple documents and then trying to respond to one customer simple query, right? So those are the use cases that we have to pick up, which is taking more of human time. Okay, and then like, but it is actually not going to add much value. So see whether you can actually build agentic AI agents for that, to respond to such queries. And then at the same time start building knowledge base where which agents can digital agents can rely on, right? So the important use cases like, the routine jobs which can be handled by digital agents, and the second is like, the post service customer experience.
You rightly mentioned that retail industry is one thing that if a small delivery issue also, there is a huge issue that happens when it happens on the retail side, because people buy things, and going to what we see today is that Bangalore has this 10-minute delivery thing. So the customer success and the customer day centers have to be very fast in looking at how the whole supply chain is working, is one big thing that we should understand and look at customer experience. How do we balance quick win with the need of to design scale cross-functional workflows that does not break later, madam.
See, as I mentioned, first of all, identifying the right use case is very, very important, right? Not every use case in the enterprise is agentic AI use case, right? There is a thin line between, like we talked about, like, implementing a chatbot versus building a digital agent, right?
Yeah.
So, um, CEO, CTOs, and CXOs have to actually come together and then finalize where they wanted to bring in this digital agents, right? If they do the right decision in the beginning, then their journey on agentic AI will be successful. So that's one important thing that they have to focus on. Second is, where are they going to get data for these agents, right? Because the data will be in the enterprise. If you see, the data will be everywhere, right? Now it can be in your ERP system, it can be in your CRM system, it can be in your legacy systems, right? So you need to actually, like, focus on how you're going to bring these data, unify them, so that, like, agents, the digital agents, can actually pick up the right data to provide right information, right? So they have to focus on data infrastructure, right? And then they have to focus on building or identifying the right use cases.
Today the scenario is that data is a new oil, because without having the new data sanitized or having the right data sets that are to be given to AI, expecting accurate results is not going to be possible today, because every data set that you provide, you will get the relevant answers that are there, is what I understand from most of the AI discussions that we've been having in the podcast now. How do we see data platforms and other enterprise systems playing together when agents need to act across multiple applications?
Yeah, so the data plays a major role, as I mentioned. Yeah, and as I mentioned, the data can be anywhere. See, gone are those days, like, where you will have data in disparate systems, duplicate data, and redundant data. Right now, like, customers also, like, becoming more and more aware of how to actually cleanse their data, because they understand the importance of clean data for building any AI solution, be it agentic AI or generative AI. If the data is not clean, your response to the prompts that you are writing is not going to be correct, or it's not going to be accurate. So they understand that. So unification of data is very important. And some actually, like, partners, like, or some like, product partners like SAP or Salesforce, so they are actually bringing in their own data unification methodology, right? So that, like, they can actually pull the data from various sources. It can be real time or it can be a batch, but they pull the data, unify the data, which can be uh, used for building their AI solutions, agentic AI solutions or generative AI solutions. So the focus should be on what platform you want to use to unify your data. And but before unification, it should be clean data. Data cleansing is very, very important. Data plays a very major role in all the solutions. And the
Because
clean.
you rightly said, because now everything is analyzed, every data that is getting put into the system is getting analyzed. It gives you certain predictions, certain pointers, and that's how the business also is making decisions in terms of where to scale, what to scale and stuff, right? When we are talking about AI, now, coming to that point, how does the architecture part play? What I want to ask is, what are the key architectural decisions the CXOs need to get rid early, so that they don't pay for expensive rework later? Because one is data, you said that. But the cleansing is the second point. So what other architectural pointers that the CXOs have to look at when we look at AI agents?
Two more major important things that they have to focus on. See, the agents can be built on any system, right? If you have AWS, or if you have Salesforce, if you have SAP, or if you have Oracle, like, you can actually build agents on any of these systems, right?
Yeah.
But you need to orchestrate all these agents to provide a business solution. So they have to focus on, as part of the architecture, they have to focus on which is what is going to be their agent orchestrating platform, right? So that is something that they have to focus on. Second is the prompts, right? So it's not going to be simple prompts. Like you write a prompt for a simple query and get a simple response. But when you're implementing agentic AI solution for an enterprise, the prompts can actually run to pages and pages. It can become like a huge book, right? How are you going to maintain these prompts? Because if these prompts are not maintained properly, right, each and every time you can't sit and rewrite these prompts, right? So you have to come up with a mechanism of maintaining these prompts. So prompt maintenance is very, very important, that they have to focus on in the beginning itself. Otherwise, they will have lot of redundant prompts, duplicate ones, right? Because if I'm writing a prompt to get some responses for a business function, the same prompt can be written by somebody else in some other business unit to get a similar response, right? So it's a duplicate prompt. So somebody has to be there as a prompt architect, I would say. The lack of better role name that I'm calling it out. Prompt architect who can actually govern the enterprise architecture. So they have to govern this enterprise prompts and also make sure that there are no redundant prompts written, and its maintainability is kept in mind when the prompts are written.
Are we talking in terms of versioning of the prompts somewhere, madam? In any
Yes.
case?
Yes,
Okay,
we have to version the prompts. Yes, you're right.
okay, okay. Now, what are the pointers are these leaders prospective when we look at robust architecture for agentic workplace? Like, are there any tools that we should be looking at?
There are multiple tools in the market, right? I cannot name a specific tool, right? Because
Okay.
prompt engineering itself is actually a science by itself, right? There are a lot of actually tools coming for prompt engineering. So we will have to actually narrow down to the tool based on the architecture and the landscape that we have, the technology landscape that we have in an enterprise.
Now, when agents can trigger actions, update records, and interact with customers, how should the CISOs and the risk leaders think about governance and control mechanism? Because now everything is agent. Now, where do we look at seeing the governance and controls coming in place?
Yeah, so most of the software product companies are thinking of zero copy, right? I'm sure you must have heard about zero copy, which means without copying your personal data, the prompts are going to use the data, provide a solution, and then it's going to erase the data from its memory, or it's going to erase the data from its source, or from wherever it is storing the data to provide the response. So the zero copy is very, very important, right? And building that trust layer and building that governance, data governance, and overall agentic AI solution governance is very important. So that should be the focus that we need to bring in right from the beginning when we are actually designing any agentic AI solutions.
So we are talking about security first stand, where we look at the data should be, when we bring anything to the enterprise, it should look more into the security side rather
Yeah,
than doing a rework later, is what I see is what you are saying, ma'am.
secure